Alright guys, so we're back to week 4 of the Trading Combine series. So this week was another week where I realized more parts of what I need to change and improve. Volume picked up quite a bit this week after FOMC, so that was pretty good. I haven't experienced like actual good price movement yet, so this week was a nice refreshing week to trade. And I did switch around a lot this week with my reflections each day, and it does seem like I'm going back and forth a lot about like my thoughts and everything. Is just because I'm trying to get everything sorted and kind of collect all my thoughts throughout the week. But yeah, I like the conclusion I came up with in the end, even though I didn't get to really test it out because I didn't get to trade on Friday. But yeah, I'll stop stalling and get into the trades. Alright, so for today I was initially waiting to see what happened at this 15-minute imbalance since pressure swept out the all-time high, and so I wanted to base my bias during market open off of the reaction of this imbalance. And price had disrespected the 15-minute fair value gap and tapped into the order block, which made me think that it would either disrespect the fair value gap and move to the all-time high, or respect and target the lower LRLs. Price ended up choosing to take out the all-time high, which I'm not surprised about anymore. And yeah, I decided to wait until after 145 pre-market news because price was still developing and I needed more confluences to back up any decision I would make. I was aiming more for a bearish play since targeting the highs would have been pretty hard to know highs. And I was waiting and saw this 15-minute fair value gap develop, and I was thinking that if we saw a disrespect of this imbalance, we could look for some shorts on the low time frame, price retrace and continued the bearish push. And on the 5-minute we got that inverse that I was waiting for, which meant that it was free game for shorts. I had my entry place just below the most recent 3-minute low, which was an entry style that I explained in the previous video. But yeah, it was pretty good selling pressure for a while. Price came down, almost hit my partial. I had my partials placed at around the 15-minute order block. Price gained some pretty strong buying power and came up, hitting my stop loss for a loss of 150. Spread kind of fucked me here since I was only risking 136 at the time, but it's all good. It's just part of the game. I was thinking about my mistake today, since I followed my plan pretty thoroughly today, and my mental was pretty good today as well. And what I could think of was that the break on the 5-minute wasn't that strong, and that there was also LRLs, which I didn't notice on the 1-minute, where price proceeded to do a fake out. So yeah, there were some minor mistakes here and there today, but honestly I'm pretty happy, especially with my mental, and I kept my composure pretty well. And it's just a shame that I missed the confluence, but yeah, it's all good. We'll just get it next time. And yeah, I couldn't stay up too late since I had work tomorrow, so I just called it a night pretty early. So I ended off tonight with a loss of 150 and a total P&L of 400. Okay, so for Tuesday, during pre-market I saw this 1-hour imbalance which I wanted to see price react off of, and depending on the reaction of the high time frame imbalance, I could determine my bias. And price came out and tapped into the imbalance, though it was struggling to break through the imbalance and ended up just wicking into it and coming back down. Price ended up getting some pretty strong selling power, coming down and taking out data lows. From this point I was expecting a reversal since price took out this liquidity. There was also 1-minute LRLs further left, which price also swept out quite a bit, which I thought could be an indication of a fake out to push higher. Price came in with some pretty strong buying power, inversing the two 5-minute fair value gaps and retracing into these imbalances. I targeted the higher 5-minute fair value gap with the overlap of the 3-minute fair value gap, and I targeted these imbalances since price had such an explosive drop. That's why I thought that price would only retrace slightly from my prior experiences before continuing higher to the recent highs. And I had my TP placed at the default position of $50 since I wanted to go for runners with my remaining contract, and I had my partial placed at the most recent high, which would have been around $50 profit. And I entered today with only 2 contracts because I learned from yesterday that if I risked 3 contracts, then I couldn't get my stop loss to the spot that I wanted it to be without having too high of a risk. That's why I just sized down to 2 contracts. And yeah, price had some pretty strong buying momentum during the start of the trade, and I thought it would hit TP pretty quickly, but it ended up getting some pretty strong selling power after that candle. And yeah, that quickly changed and price came down to swiftly hit my stop loss. So I got stopped out with a loss of minus $88, and I was thinking that this was a seek and destroy since, as you can see here, price gained some pretty strong buying power again after sweeping on my stop loss. So that's why I entered off with the retracement again with the overlap of the 5-minute fair value gap disrespect and the 1-minute fair value gap disrespect. Price ended up tapping into this entry, and initially it seemed to be going pretty well. Price was holding around the entry point and leaning more towards profit, and then price gained some really strong selling pressure again and then sold me out for a loss of $77. Alright, so I know what you're thinking, like why would you enter into a trade again if you just took a loss? And yeah, I agree. It was pretty rash of me, and I admit that I admit fault to that. I was honestly thinking that what occurred was seek and destroy of my stop loss, and that price would continue higher to my initial TP. And what I didn't count for was the higher time frame, more specifically the 4-hour order block, which price was magnetizing towards. And price on the 4-hour had also developed a new order block which price tapped into at 2 AM and gained more selling momentum off of. Though the order block was developed after my trade finished, because I took my trades around 140 and 150, and yeah, I was too rash today. I didn't take a step back to reconsider if my bias was wrong for my initial trade, which I think was my biggest flaw today. Today's mental was pretty good though, all things considered. I think it's because I found a risk size I'm comfortable with. Even if I take losses, I still wouldn't mind losing that amount of money. And yeah, so in that way I find it easier to detach from the money. And what I'll work on tomorrow is just keeping note of all the time frames. I'll speak out loud what I see on each time frame, so I'll remember, and I'll also write down what I see on each time frame on the charts as well, and I just constantly update it. So yeah, I ended off today with a loss of $167 and a total P&L of minus $563. Alright, so for Wednesday I was thinking that price could run bearish onto these high time frame imbalances. I wanted to see how price reacted off the 15-minute fair value gap plus 5-minute order block overlaps, with the bias towards the down push, since I was thinking that price could seek the daily imbalances down lower. There was also an overlap of the 15-minute imbalances, which I could also see price tapping into before a strong down move, and all these confluences were within a 4-hour order block, so a strong respect for these imbalances meant that it had a high time frame context backing it up as well. And honestly I was getting fucked over today because of my internet. It cut out like 4 separate times, which I don't know how it's possible. My power went out for like 10 seconds as well. Anyways, I was thinking of entering off of the rejection of the 5-minute plus 3-minute fair value gap, and initially I was thinking that price could get a strong rejection if the 15-minute formed an order block, but I went to the 50-minute and realized that price had not formed a potential order block, and I just created a small candle and had even whipped into a 15-minute fair value gap and respected it. And that's why I decided not to enter, and I'm glad I did, because damn, look at that shit. I decided to wait for the initial confluences I laid out to be tapped into, and I wanted to see a tap to the newly formed imbalances with the target of the 4-hour order block. And price was forming more and more LRLs on the move up as well, which could be helpful for the down move. And I placed another entry just below the most recent 5-minute low. I decided on that because of the 15-minute volume was dying up for a bullish move, and that if price disrespected this 5-minute low, it would be a strong move. I gave it more space as well, since I didn't want to be whipped into the trade either, and pricing are just moving up, so I decided to just remove that entry. And I kept on waiting more and more, and pricing up disrespecting the new 5-minute imbalances and tapped into the 15-minute overlaps. Volume picked up quite a bit as well, which meant that I could look for a bearish trade that I had in mind, and also I decided to switch to points because, you know, I thought it would help with detaching from the money I trade. I had my entry at the overlaps between the 5-minute fair value gap plus 3-minute fair value gap. One mistake I can say right now is that I could have aimed for a better entry, but I was afraid of the strong selling power and thought that price would only retrace slightly before getting a strong down move, and price ended up tapping the entry and I was in. So yeah, I just speed it up for you guys. So yeah, as you can see, price just consolidated for a while before news hit, which was something that I noted down. I thought that volume would die out before news, and I did think I should have taken out profit, and I was thinking about taking out profits when I was around $150 up, but I decided not to because price was showing some promise with the push down. But yeah, it was already like, what, 5:30 AM, so I decided to just call it a night. And since I knew volume was going to die out extremely before news, I don't want to gamble on FOMC either. So I ended up today with a small profit of $30 and a total P&L of 532. And yeah, woke up today to see that it did play out pretty well, so I'm glad my bias was correct. Okay, so I was thinking that price could run bullish for a bit today and then fill in the high time frame imbalances before pushing down lower, and then there were also confluences for bearish power, so honestly it could have moved either way. I did see potential to move lower because of the LRLs and the 15 plus 5-minute order blocks, but my intuition was telling me not to enter this trade, and I realized after there was a 1-hour value gap which price tapped into and pushed bullish off of. Then I decided to set the trade out, and I was thinking if price continued lower we could see a fake out into price pushing further up, and if price continued lower and took out that 1-hour value gap and disrespected it, I could consider looking for shorts, which price did come down and take out the 2:30 AM data lows, and my shorts seemed pretty prominent. I did have a limit placed because I was thinking that about the power play that could occur, but what I realized was that I shouldn't have placed the limit in the first place. I didn't realize that entering with 2 cons still gave me that little of a stop loss to work with, and I feel like that's because I got too used to trading on small time frames, and also another thing was that price action would start to pick up again, so I ended up getting stopped out today for a loss of $141 and a total P&L of minus 600. And I did do some self-reflection because I feel like recently the trades haven't been the greatest, and I was thinking and I thought that maybe I interpreted the lessons wrong from the traders I watched. Like, I watched Justin Werlin, and what I took away from his videos was that I should aim for lower hanging fruit, which I agree with. And another thing was just being a view of the market, letting market flow and making decisions based off of what price does. But what I was doing wrong was, from watching what price does, I forced too many trades because kind of like I see the potential in everything, but the root of that is FOMO. And what I did before when I was paper trading was different, where I would wait for the best possible trade to occur. Like today, I would normally wait for price to tap into the 5-minute BPR and then played off of that. And that's how I sniped a lot of entries, but it would also mean that I wouldn't trade every day. But it's a combination of FOMO and just taking too much random shit and overcomplicating trading. I switch up the strategy, and that's a mistake that a lot of people make. It's something that I didn't realize until today when I did some self-reflection. I was actually making it work before with my process and plan, and I feel like I can actually make this work on the funded as well. Hey yo, so Friday, so I ended up not trading today. So I was thinking of going for shorts on Friday, but they never came, so I ended up not taking a trade. But there was a nice overlap of imbalances where there was a mix of high time frame and low time frame imbalances. The 4 hour plus 1 hour imbalances would hold the price down, and then the 15 and 5 would help me snipe where price could run. And I was thinking that price could continue bearish from this level since we saw this nice 5-minute retracement. Though the 2 AM red folder hit and price moved up, tapping into the 1 hour fair value gap. And price tapping into the 1 hour fair value gap, so plus sweeping out the recent buy-side liquidity meant that shorts could be pretty prominent. So now I was looking for confluences to back up the shorts play, but then yeah, it never came, so I ended up not taking the trade. So yeah, that is a really quick recap. As you can see, I did change quite a lot of things this week. Something I changed was my risk. I changed it to something that I was comfortable with, but it was also higher. And I changed it midway through the week, because it was something I realized after having a talk with my friend after a trading day. I changed it to be a bit higher since maintaining an account is nice, but the goal is to pass it. And with my friend who's a few months deeper into the journey, I kind of have like some pseudo experience from him, and using a small risk meant that you would just be sinking more money into the funded account. And I did realize I had to change back to how I traded with paper, which seems pretty obvious now, but I can't believe how oblivious I was before, because I didn't even know how I would trade the same as paper account before. So now I'm just wondering what else I'm being oblivious to. But yeah, I learned quite a bit this week again, so it's alright. It was a decent week regardless. So yeah, just thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.